Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Boomin with Bella. I am your host, Isabella Lainez, and guess what? Today's episode is on. Yep, it's finally time. You guys deserved a full episode breakdown. I know I've done that in the past with previous Super Bowl halftime shows, and I know that I'm currently doing that in like that mini episode sort of thing where I just kind of recap briefly, but this one deserves a long episode where you can see me. Make sure you're following at Boomin with Bella on all social media, as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're tuning in to the audio version right now. And if you're on the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe, comment, like this video, as well as make sure you're also subscribed to Boomin with Bella wherever you get your podcasts for the audio. Okay? This performance is special for a multitude of reasons. And so what I want to do today is I want to just watch it again. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you kind of what my takeaway are. And I also have a lot of pieces that I've gathered from people on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, kind of like what they saw, what they were able to piece together. And I'll come back and make sure that that's all included in my discussion. So without further ado, we start off right in a sugarcane field with the Jíbaro singing Hoy se bebe, which is a line in Bad Bunny's song Café con Rom, and he says, "Qué rico ser Latino." Kind of got the vibe from Bad Bunny's Grammys speeches that he's all about love and unity right now. Big thing, people were wondering what he was gonna do or say, and if he was gonna be super political in his performance, and you can decide after we talk about what everything symbolizes if you think he was being super political or not. I have my answer. We start off in the sugarcane fields, which is rich in Caribbean history, but in Puerto Rican history as well with the Jíbaros. These sugarcane fields were essentially like plantations. They were not given shoes, they had really poor work conditions, they contributed to the rise of disease and early death in Puerto Rican people. It was almost a form of slavery, and there's plenty of books that kind of go deeper into that, like the book Sugar, Slavery, and Freedom in 19th Century Puerto Rico by Luisa A. Figueroa. And there's a piece of it in War Against All Puerto Ricans, which is that book that everybody's kind of been talking about, especially right now during this time. It's one that I've read. This, I believe, intro shot was shot in the Dominican Republic. I love that this intro shot is showing us the Jíbaros working in the sugarcane fields, but then it says, Benito Antonio Martínez Ocasio presenta el espectáculo de media tiempo del supertazón, as we're kind of like panning over the sugarcane fields, because it's just beautiful, and it's like, yeah, we're talking in Spanish now. But honestly, I would have never guessed that he would have opened with Titi Me Pregunto. I had a feeling that he would perform it at some point. Like, I like that song, but I like it when I haven't heard it in like 7 months. The problem with Titi Me Pregunto is it's overplayed. So that's kind of always been my struggle with it, because as soon as the album Un Verano Sin Ti dropped too, it was extremely overplayed. And so I was always like, well, that one's not really going to be my favorite, because I know I'm going to hear that one 17,000 times. So I can see why he might include it in the performance, but I didn't think he was going to open with it. As he gets into Titi Me Pregunto, he kind of passes all these street vendors. We see Coco Frio, we see the abuelos playing dominoes, we see this girl getting her nails done. And the thing about the nail salon, all of these and the ones that we see later with the gold jewelry and the piragua and the Villas Tacos, all of it is kind of playing on Latino culture. But the nail salon in specifics is important to highlight, because Bad Bunny was, when he first was getting famous, I feel like up until maybe 2023, he always had his nails done. He's always been a big advocate for LGBTQIA+ rights, and this is something that we see later on in the performance, him highlighting, and trans rights. He wore a shirt when there was a trans woman who was murdered in Puerto Rico. He wore a shirt in protest when he was performing at the Tonight Show or Jimmy Fallon, I forget which late night show it was, but one of those. And I think it says, "Te mataron Alexa." Also, there was a time where he was denied getting his nails done by a salon because he was a man, and he took to social media and he was very angry about that. So he's always been extremely outspoken, and like this is a little callback to like 2016, 2018 Bad Bunny, sort of, in a way. I love kind of the double entendre of his look, if you will. So he's wearing a jersey, and on the back of his jersey it says xoxo 64. I remember like even when we were watching, my dad's like, why is he wearing number 64? Like, what does that mean? He was asking me, like, because I'm supposed to be the Bad Bunny encyclopedia for my family. So I was like, oh my god, I don't know, like I gotta look that up. So it's actually his uncle was number 64. Like that was the year he was born, I believe, 1964. His maternal uncle, Uncle Cutito, who was born in 1964, so 64 is kind of like his number, symbolizing that. He left Puerto Rico when he was 17 to work in the US. Eventually he passed away, so Bad Bunny kind of wanted to incorporate him in the Super Bowl because he always dreamed of going to the Super Bowl with him or sharing this kind of moment with him. So he put his number on the back of his jersey, which I think is sweet. And there was a lot of conversation about like, why is this what he's wearing? Why is this Bad Bunny's outfit? And unfortunately, there's been a lot of backlash Bad Bunny has received from the Grammys ever since he was announced as a Super Bowl halftime. But it really picked up around Grammys time and closer to the Super Bowl, and he was getting a lot of death threats. So there was speculation that he was wearing a bulletproof vest to the Grammys, and that's kind of why maybe his suit fit the way that it did. But then also in the shape of what he's wearing for the Super Bowl halftime show, it kind of is also giving bulletproof vest underneath here. That just made me like a little concerned because we all know how much I love Selena Quintanilla, and you know, he's someone who's surpassed the level of stardom she was at when her life was unfortunately taken. So I can only imagine the kind of fear and stress and threats around his team and that he may experience that I'm not aware of, or the average person isn't aware of. So I could imagine that, especially during this time, he was afraid for his life. So it makes me sad, but thankfully nothing happened. There was a couple people on TikTok kind of speculating the same thing, kind of going into the full movement, how he's always moving, the grass, the set design, how there's highs, lows, he's always moving around. Was that by design to keep him safe and to keep him always on the move, always on the go? But I don't know, that's a big theory going around right now. Wanted to mention it just because of his silhouette with his outfit could potentially be a thing. But the other part of it that I do like is that he kind of looks like a linebacker. He kind of looks like he's in pads, like he's ready to go out there. So, yeah. I mean, he's carrying a football, too. I also just realized when he's at the Piragua cart, all of the syrups are flavored by the countries that he's naming. Colombiana, Puerto Riqueña, Mexicana, España. So that's kind of cool. I didn't catch that before. I also want to talk about when he's saying La Nicole, La Patricia, La Sofia, La Gabriela, when he's naming all these girlfriends. There's a bunch of women by cinder blocks, and I actually did see a TikTok kind of talk about this woman in Puerto Rico. She was struck by that imagery. She was like, why were these women hanging around cinder blocks? She thinks that it symbolizes that women are the backbone of society, especially in Caribbean culture. She said that in Puerto Rico, when you're building a house, the cinder block is the most important part. It's the beginning, it's the foundation of what becomes the house and the home. It's the structure before the finish, is what she said. The base that holds everything up, which is like women in Puerto Rico society. She said that they are firm, present, and indispensable. One of the other things that she said was the girls weren't, that's important to notice, is that they weren't really dancing or anything. They were just kind of being firm and confident. Just kind of all going back to women are the foundation of the home, society, culture, raising children, family. Like everything women does goes unnoticed and uncelebrated. And if you forget that's an important part, everything falls apart. And that kind of, the cinder block symbolizes that, because if you forget the cinder block, the house is going to fall apart. You know, it's not going to build. It's not going to be sturdy. So I thought that was really beautiful, and her @ was at El Rat de Glory. That wasn't something that I picked up on in my first 2-3 watches. So that was a beautiful, beautiful moment to kind of to call out and kind of digest. So thank you to El Rat de Glory for bringing that to my attention so I could bring it to yours. I wish that they just gave him permission to curse freely, because I hate that when he's like saying some of his lines, he either has to like fudge them a little bit or he's like mumbling a little bit. I wish they just gave him like free range, like say what you gotta say, you know, curse, say cabron, please, like why not, you know? Via's Tacos is another street vendor that's shown in this performance. That is based in LA, and I saw clips the Monday after the Super Bowl, the Tuesday after the Super Bowl, that the line for their shop was down the block. And that was kind of like something that people talked about, like it's important, you know, showing up and highlighting small businesses and local culture and the influence. It also just highlights the influence that Bad Bunny has. Like he put him in this performance and he had maybe 5 seconds of visibility, and all of a sudden the next week his business is booming. You know, Bad Bunny is influence. He is culture. He is it right now. Everything he does, people follow. Me included, okay? When his collab with Fanatics and the NFL released, I was so quick to be like, you know, my little boxing concho needs a friend. So quick. Barely even thought about it twice. Which, speaking of, the next kind of scene we get is two guys boxing. One of them is Puerto Riqueño, and he actually had just won some big fight. I don't follow boxing that much. Maybe I should. But I think he just won like I want to say World Cup. That's how much I don't know about boxing. But he just won something in Puerto Rico like a few days before this, I feel like. Maybe a week max, I don't know, but it was huge and I saw it everywhere, like regardless on social media of the fact that I follow boxing or I don't, I saw it everywhere. So having them have that little moment was cool because also boxing is huge in Puerto Rico. And then he picks up the engagement ring and he's like, deja eso, and he gives it to this guy who proposes to this girl. And you know, first couple watches you think that they're just actors, background dancers, whatever. They were real. They actually got engaged. How cute is that? So cute. Moved to the casita, and when I saw the casita, before the show even began, like they were kind of being like, get ready, and it went to commercial and I was like, the casita's there! But in the casita, it's staying true to No Me Quiero Ir de Aquí Residencia. There's a bunch of celebrities in there dancing on the porch. We have Alex Earl, who there's been a lot of conversation about why she was there, and I firmly believe it was solely PR. The fact that the pictures after the fact she was posting with one of these major guys in the media and entertainment business. I guess she has a new show she's working on developing that's coming out, and so I think because of that, for promo for that, he got her on the casita. Because everything else about the casita, it was supposed to be like all Latino celebrities, Latino, Latina, Latinx celebrities. So her being there is kind of like, you know, but Jessica Alba's there, Pedro Pascal, Young Miko, Karol G, and they had just reconciled at his concert in Colombia, which is huge because you know that their beef has been long-standing. That was interesting to see that she was there, but then this is kind of the perreo section where you really see what it means to perrear. I forgot to mention Cardi B's also in the casita, and I have to say when Party came on, it took me like a delayed second to realize like, what if Raul Alejandro comes out? It took me a second, but like there was a brief moment of panic where I was like, my family, because I watched it at home with my family. We had a whole party, a bunch of my parents' friends, my friends, family all came over to watch it. But I had a brief moment where I was like, my family might see me lose my crap. Like I might go insane if Raul Alejandro comes out right now, and they're all gonna see that. So there was like a brief like, oh, what do I do? I like froze. But yeah, I was excited for a brief second. I didn't really think it was gonna happen, but there was that brief moment. I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. Wasn't expecting this. I am obsessed with this perreo section. Like, yo perreo soa into Safayera. Safayera at the Super Bowl? Amazing. Amazing. And I am obsessed. I'm just obsessed. I couldn't help myself. I wanted to finish his sentence when he said, si tu novio no te... I can't say this because on the chance that my abuelo and my abuela watch this, I'm not going to repeat those words, but I fight the urge to every time I watch this and it just bleeps him. He should have been able to say it. Why not? But I also have seen many people on TikTok also having the same thing. They're like, if you're not going to say it, I'll finish the sentence for you, Benito. Don't worry. But this is the first time where we can also kind of visibly see how xoxo was incorporated. He's kind of like in the circle watching. And it's cool because they like pan to him at one moment while there's the transition happening and he's just like, yay! He finishes that on top of the casita perreo section with voy a llevarte pa PR, and then he kind of falls through the ceiling of the casita where there's a family watching, and then he kind of kicks the door open and exits back. It transitions back to the live stage. But in this pre-recorded section, I saw a couple people talk about how it symbolizes him disrupting your regular scheduled programming. All the people that didn't want him to perform, all the people who said that he shouldn't be the halftime performance, it should be someone who's American, which if you're listening, I said that in air quotation marks because Puerto Ricans are US citizens. Puerto Rico is a United States colony, territory, but him falling through the ceiling and disrupting the regular depicted American family, he's disrupting their regular scheduled programming. And I love that for him. The melody of Tego Calderon, Daddy Yankee, Don Omar, like, that's the big three on reggaeton right there. Sorry. That's the big three in reggaeton right there. I have a TikTok that went kind of viral for talking about, like, what if we hear Pa Que Vete Son at the Super Bowl? What if we hear Tego? What if Tego comes out at the Super Bowl? And when I heard that little intro, I also paused because I was like, what? Was I right? Unfortunately, I was not, but like he was still kind of there. So that was really exciting to me. And I wish I could like hear an extended version of that, all of that into AO, because that was just so beautiful, and it was just an insanely cool way to pay homage to the pioneers of reggaeton and include them in a performance if they couldn't physically, be there. He's always been one to show respect to the founding fathers, and so this was a cool way that he incorporated them. I really liked it, and the Soboteo baby, Tara baby, Perreo baby, all of that is stuck in my head constantly. AO is going platinum. I mean, it went platinum, but now it's like double. It's gonna be like 10 times platinum by the end of this year in this house. This is also where we see Perreo in full force. Everybody perreando. Women on women, man on man, girl on man, together, sola, todo perreando. I love to see it. That was kind of a moment where like people were kind of giving like, the right wing didn't like that there was a moment that highlighted specifically two men perreando. But who cares? To me, who cares? And I like that he took that risk, and not even a risk, but I like that he showed that because he's always been about unity and love is love and being an advocate and an ally, so incorporating that was just natural for him. Like, barely even thought twice of it. Then we get Monaco with a live orchestra and a conductor who's wearing the Flor de Maga, which is the national flower of Puerto Rico, and the orchestra is made up of men and women. They're all playing the violin, and it's like the intro of Monaco, which is another song I did not think that we would get at the Super Bowl, but as you guys know, I really didn't want to do like a predictions episode, or I didn't want to think too much about like what we might see, what we might get, because I really wanted to go into it with like blank expectations, no expectations, like not really wishing for anything, and because I didn't want to be disappointed. I didn't think I was ever going to be disappointed, but I just wanted to go in with a blank slate and with no like pre-biases creeping in, like, oh, I really wanted to hear this song, so, you know, like I didn't want any of that. So all of this was like a surprise, I guess, to me. But it was kind of cool that he incorporated Monaco, and because that song is very much about like, look where I am now. I never thought I would be here. Look where I am. Look how far I've come. Look how much money I make. And he gives a speech where he says like, my name is Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, and I never thought I would be here, but I believed in myself. I never stopped believing in myself. You should never stop believing in yourself. You never know what could happen. Like, trust me. Kind of using himself as an example. And then he says, Dime, este tu lo quería. Basically saying, it's like, is this what you wanted? Is this what you want? And then we get Lady Gaga. But before I get into that, I have to talk about the fact that he just did like low-key opera, like an opera voice. Snaps Benito. Him, one, saying that and then transitioning to Lady Gaga, a Italian-American. Double entendre. Out of all of the special guests, my friend Lainey, she did text me in October of 2025. She said, I saw a theory. What if he brings out Lady Gaga? And I didn't say no. I just said, like, I wouldn't put it past him. He is a little monster. Like, he's a big time Gaga fan. And I know that she respects him and is a fan of his as well. So maybe. Because I think maybe some part of me deep down was like, that could very well be a possibility. Let me not like put my foot in my mouth. So I didn't shut her down, or I tried not to shut her down. But in my head I was like, that would be kind of in this era of Benito, maybe not. Yes, actually. So actually, yes. And I'm not surprised. He's a huge Lady Gaga fan. And everyone was talking about how they were like literally at the Grammys the weekend before. They were like talking, and like all the like hints maybe that we missed, just like subtle reactions from her fiance. That moment where she came over and talked to him. But to have her come and perform a salsa version of Die in Your Arms while a couple gets married is, for real, they got married for real, is insanity. So cool. Just historical. Like, when has anybody ever gotten married at the Super Bowl? But it is also serves as double entendre, as much as he loves Lady Gaga and is a little monster, that he's having her sing in English one of the biggest songs in the country last year. But a salsa rendition, and she is wearing the original blue of the Puerto Rican flag in her dress and the flor de maja. So it works. I just noticed in the back corner of this stage now, there's like a little like window, like hermoso. Oh my god, that's so cute. Okay, back to watching Lady Gaga. It's so cute how happy she is. Like, you can just feel her happiness and excitement to be there and to be included is just like through the roof. I do love Lady Gaga. She's just so cool. I also want to say that I do think it's really admirable that he included a lot of his band that has been with him through the Residencia and the whole tour. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't he? But it's just nice to be able to recognize and see that, you know? Him dancing salsa dancing to Baile Inolvidable with Lady Gaga, I wish I could hear his inner monologue. Like, it must have been like, oh my god! I love this section, this Baile Inolvidable section, because I love how the camera just follows him through the crowd. And we're seeing so many different things. We're seeing the couple that just got married cut their wedding cake. We see the kid that's asleep on the chairs. Bad Bunny kind of like tag him, like, wake him up, come on. That, like, all of this is just a beautiful celebration of Latino culture, Caribbean culture especially, and like, it's just stuff that it's like, oh my god, like, I remember when I was a kid, like, passed out on my abuela's couch while the New Year's Eve party was going on. Like, all of those moments, like, there's something that everybody can relate to or has experienced. Like, it really just takes these, like, individual almost things that you don't even think of and puts them on a broader stage, and it's like those little moments are ones that people are like, oh my god, I can relate to that. And I think that's really cool that he was able to showcase all of this. Another one, like the kids running through the dance floor, the flower girl dancing with the tío, like, or the abuelo, like who knows if he's a tío or an abuelo, or it's supposed to signify both, but it's just so, I see you, you see me. It's so cute that this couple got to have this moment. Like, they're gonna be able to tell their kids and their grandkids, like, yeah, we got married at Bad Bunny Super Bowl. Look, there's videos of us dancing to Baile Inolvidable. And their story is really sweet because they wanted Baile Inolvidable to be their first dance, and they had extra invitations, so they were like, let's invite Bad Bunny, who knows? And it got back to him, and so he invited them to get married at the Super Bowl. You know, keep being delusional, everybody. We need to keep being delusional. Like, he can't say culo, but he can say el tusi Rosita. Come on. Anyways, we're at the Nueva York section, and this part is just, like, the whole performance is just so fun, and I think that's one of the biggest things about it, is, like, there isn't a dull second. Everything is action-packed, so fun, so entertaining, but we see these set designs of La Marqueta, Donita's, and a barbershop. Donita is there, and she gives him a shot, and that's such a cool moment because she has been someone who has been in the news a lot. She's been an iconic figure, especially getting a lot of attraction lately. She owns Donita's, a Caribbean social club in Brooklyn, and it is a social club that is constantly being people are constantly trying to buy that space from her, push her out of there as the area's been gentrified, and she won't sell. You know, she's been a resilient figure of keeping her stance, fighting against gentrification and being resilient and resistant, and just being this iconic symbol of Puerto Rican resilience, keeping the culture alive against gentrification and being pushed out. Lalo's barbershop in the set, there was a TikTok that I saw where a guy was like, wait a second. He recognized his abuelo's barbershop, which was in Bushwick, Brooklyn, as just like Puerto Rican owned barbershop, and he was like, did Bad Bunny like just include like my grandfather's barbershop? I think actually in the performance it's Lilo's barbershop, but it could very well be a call out to this Puerto Rican owned barbershop that was in Brooklyn, also a symbol of gentrification of the area. And in the barbershop we could see someone like getting a cut, and then in the back of Nueva York, when everybody's dancing, we can see somebody come out of La Marqueta, which is kind of cool. Bad Bunny including these spots from gentrified neighborhoods in a way to show resilience and how we remain. And then we see a family with a little boy watching Bad Bunny on television, and it's his Grammy speech, which is really cool. I wonder if this was planned or if they pulled this together in the last like week before the performance or not. He says Puerto Rico live at the same time that he says Puerto Rico in his speech, and then he hands the Grammy to the little boy. And now there was a lot of people initially thought that this was the little boy Liam Ramos, who had been unrightfully detained by ICE not in Minnesota not too long ago and then was released, but it actually wasn't. Whether it was to served as another double entendre of, you know, Bad Bunny and his younger self, but also as symbolism of what just happened with Liam. Could be. Wouldn't put it past him, you know? But I think the overall kind of in-your-face significance was supposed to be Bad Bunny and his younger self. You know, like, believe it. Like, you can do it. You did it. Look where we are. I don't know if you can see, but I got to the part with Ricky Martin singing Lo que lo paso a Hawaii, and every single time it brings me to tears. Every single time. And I think it's partially the song. It's partially, you know, just my love for Puerto Rico and the island and its culture, and knowing now everything that it's been going through for centuries and how its people are treated. But then also, like, just the emotion and the power in which the song is sung. Like, Bad Bunny has always sung it with such power and emotion and pride and strength behind his voice when he sings it. And Ricky Martin, it's like you can feel it. Also, he had just written a letter to Bad Bunny, or an open letter that was published, and he was just thanking Bad Bunny and, you know, giving Bad Bunny his flowers. And one of the things that he said, like, you did it without you know, without hiding your roots, without shying away from where you're from, who you are, you know, like downplaying your roots or whatever. Like, you did it fully and pridefully and loudly, and that's not something to take lightly, essentially, is kind of what he was saying in my interpretation also. So all of that, and then to have him bring out Ricky Martin to sing Lo que le pasó a Hawaii. Ricky Martin is another Puerto Rican born singer who, to make it in the mainstream, had to sing in English and had to downplay his Puerto Ricanness in order to appeal to the mainstream audience. For him to be able to come and sing this song on the Super Bowl this many years later is just beautiful, and it just makes me like, it's just like, wow. And just the song is heartbreakingly beautiful, and just the emotion that's always behind the voice who's singing it, it just brings me to tears no matter what. And also just the fact that it's Ricky Martin, and after everything that he's been through, getting to sing in Spanish, getting to sing a song of calling out US colonization and gentrification of Puerto Rico on a a global stage in the United States, is just chef's kiss. Can't say anything more about it. I don't have the words. It's like literally leaves me speechless, this moment. And then going right into El Apagón, this shot of them like falling off of the electricity poles, the light poles, and just seeing the Puerto Rican flag with the light blue kind of underneath them. And then we get into Bad Bunny singing Puerto Rico está bien, and then he won't say cabrón, but he can say tu si racista. Like, come on. To be fair, he didn't say the first one, but he said the second one, and then he didn't say hijo de puta. He's just kind of, but then he wouldn't say P fucking R. He had to be like, esto es PR. Wink. Just pay the FCC, let him say whatever he's got to say. El Apagón is an insane song, and it came out on Un Verano Sin Ti, and it was like, it wasn't the first time that he was like outwardly like outspoken, I guess, about what was going on in Puerto Rico and the politics, but I think it's one of his biggest songs that does so. It's essentially due to the gentrification of Puerto Rico, Luma, which privatized the energy companies in Puerto Rico, and so now there's always power outages that last for days at a time. Eventually can lead to the rise of deaths because people don't have access to electricity. And it's an insane problem in Puerto Rico, but then also he's talking about se falta sazón, batería, reggaeton. He's speaking up against the gentrification of Puerto Rico and the Caribbean and Latinos and all of our Latino, Latina, Latinx culture. But one thing I do want to say is that he did his own stunt here, is he climbed up the light post. I don't know why. Word is failing me, but he climbed up it, and they said originally they wanted to get a stunt person for him to do it, but he was like, no, I can do it. And in a way, they're kind of happy that he did do that, because they got that cool shot of him, like that cool aerial shot of him saying Puerto Rico está bien cabrón. And then you can see more aerial shots of the entire setup. It is massive. The set design is insane. Most of the grass was real people, which is kind of funny. People were talking about that a lot after the fact, but there's just so much here. And it's so cool that they incorporated so much. Like the casita is completely separate from the Morro, Marqueta, Tonitas kind of set, and then that's completely separate than the Lo que le pasó a Hawaii set, which is completely different than the El Apagón set, which is also completely different from the truck where we're doing the perreo. There's so much here. Really amazing set design. Like, that blows me away. You can hear so much emotion and passion behind his voice as he's singing El Apagón too, which is just insane, but stimulating. El Apagón, because even the billboard went blank. Amazing work, Benito. Showcasing the problems that Puerto Ricans face daily on a stage like this, like drawing attention to it. Like, this is something that happens all the time, guys. Amazing. And then he goes into my favorite part, because I am obsessed with this mashup, Café con Ron into El Apagón. If I could just get like that as a full like song, it could be on SoundCloud, it could be on Spotify, it could be an MP3. I don't care. I would literally download it and listen to it all the time. I love that part. Like, it just, for some reason, it works. It mashes really well, and it's so hype. I love it. I forgot to mention Los Planeros de la Cresta are also there. When you see all those flags come running, what a beautiful way to end this performance. And then he picks up the football and he says, "God bless America." And then he goes into listing all of the countries in North and South America, including Canada. It's just beautiful to see. And then he says the only thing stronger than hate is love on the billboard. As he's listing all the countries, like, that is a moment that stuck with me. And every time I scroll on TikTok or Twitter and I see, you know, someone's reaction to seeing their flag, like Belize, even hearing Haiti and Jamaica in their native tongue, the reactions to that is just beautiful. And even when I was watching and like we saw the Aruba flag, I mean, we're not Aruban, but you don't see Aruba getting recognition anywhere like that. So seeing that, I was like, oh my God, they got included. Also, like, hearing him say El Salvador, like, I immediately turned and looked at my abuelo. I was like, it's a moment of pride and getting to be proud of where you're from and where your family's from. He put Puerto Rico on this stage and he made it about Puerto Rico, and he said, this is how beautiful my island and my culture is, but also this is shared. While some experiences are specific to Puerto Rico, there's a lot of things that are shared amongst America or the Caribbean. In the ending, he kind of tied everything and everyone together, and that's just so beautiful. And then he goes into the tirar más fotos, and you can see the emotion of all the dancers, the people who are holding their flags, just some of them visibly like crying as they're jumping and singing, and there's just so much here. You can even just see him feeling his emotions, jumping on his friends, hugging his friends while he's singing the tirar más fotos. It's just truly a beautiful performance. I honestly don't think that there's anything that can top it anytime soon. I mean, I have no idea. I have no idea what's gonna happen next year. I have no idea who they're gonna do or who's gonna do it or what they're gonna do. It was just such a entertaining, lively, dancey show, and then to be all about love and unity, it's crazy. It's crazy to me that he was able to even like put on something of that magnitude like that, and still for us to feel all the feels and also just be so entertained. Like, am hooked. Like, I had friends texting me who don't really listen to Bad Bunny like that or aren't Latina, Latino, Latinx, Latin, texting me and they're like, I'm obsessed with Bad Bunny. I love this performance. I watch it every day. I go to work, people are talking about it nonstop. And people are like coming to me, they're asking me for recs, like, okay, what Bad Bunny song should I listen to? What's your favorite? It's just beautiful. And I am thankful to my friends who let me send them Bad Bunny song of the day. For the like 10 days leading up to the Super Bowl in our group chat, I was like, you're gonna know. You are gonna know. It's just such a beautiful performance. And some things that I saw online, but I did not incorporate in my viewer discussion, was the importance of the light blue flag. The light blue flag was banned in the gag law, which is Law 53, was enacted in 1948 by the United States of America. It basically banned this flag. People were sent to federal prison for flying it, for wearing it, for talking about Puerto Rican independence. Eventually, years later, the reason that we have the dark blue flag today is because it was made to match the United States of America flag. But yeah, and like the US government tried to make English the official language of Puerto Rico in schools, etc. And then also, one of the reasons Puerto Ricans were even given citizenship in the first place was that so that they could be drafted into the wars. And then congressmen have even referred to Puerto Ricans as barbaric cannibals. Worse. So everything that Bad Bunny was kind of stimulating was kind of to like take back all of that hate that was put on to Puerto Ricans for decades. And you can read more about that stuff, but that's why like him flying the light blue flag was so important. That's why him doing this whole thing in Spanish was so important. That's why him showcasing how beautiful the culture is was so important, and how beautiful the people are was so important. They're not barbaric cannibals. That's why him being having that stage and having that platform was such a big deal. and such a historical moment, and why you see the reactions that you did. And you can read more about that in War Against All Puerto Ricans. Bad Bunny has many videos on it on his YouTube channel. For Debí Tirar Más Fotos, all of the visualizers or lyric videos all have different pieces of history where you can read while the song is playing. He also did a documentary sort of video for El Apagón, which talks about the everyday kind of battles that Puerto Ricans face, especially facing this energy crisis. He also has a video for Una Velita, which kind of talks about the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. There's plenty of resources on his YouTube channel alone that he has provided us alone. War Against All Puerto Ricans is another good one. This book right here, I've talked about it on the podcast before, but Puerto Rico, A National History by Jorel Melendez Badillo. This is another one that is more of like literally a historical read, but it has everything. Plenty of documentaries and other books you can read that I have on my Goodreads and I have screenshotted. So if you ever want more recommendations, I will make a like blog post that kind of houses all the resources that I've found over the years. Those have been the main things that I've been using, watching YouTube videos, documentaries, following influencers that speak about it has been a big one for me. There's a couple that I follow on TikTok and Instagram. Miss Angelina on TikTok, she's at missangelina.com_. She's a big one that talks about a lot of stuff. She lives in Puerto Rico and she's very vocal about everything, so she's one that I follow and learn a lot from. But I just think that the main thing is to be educated, to be respectful when you're visiting the island, and to just educate yourself on the hardships that these people face in order to, you know, provide the dream beach vacation for you. Another thing that I do want to mention before we close it out is that one of the reasons that this album, this performance, and Bad Bunny as a whole really resonates with me is that he constantly acknowledges Puerto Ricans in the diaspora and New Yorkers and their impact. And you know, growing up here in the diaspora, being separated from the island and not really growing up in a predominantly Puerto Rican area or predominantly Latino area, I never really knew how far I could, like, you know, embrace my culture. Obviously, we can all see over the years I've fully gone into the deep end. I think I do have to credit that partially to Bad Bunny and his acceptance and his inclusion of Puerto Ricans in the diaspora, and you know, their impact on Puerto Rican culture, how it goes both ways, and you know, that he does see us. In the big grand scheme of things, there's unity, and I just really appreciate that someone like Bad Bunny is, you know, never forgets about us over here in the diaspora, or the impact that New Yorkers have had on Puerto Rican culture anyways. From top to bottom, an insanely cool performance, from the costumes, from the choreography to the set design. Just all of it was absolutely insane, and I am so... This is my favorite Super Bowl halftime performance of all time. I do want to hear your thoughts, so let me know. I'm sure I'll have more to say about this, you know, over time. I bet we'll hear it come up throughout further conversations. Maybe I'll feel so inclined to write a full piece about it. For now, I just kind of wanted to rewatch and get some of my thoughts out and, you know, tell you a little bit about what was going on in the performance in case you didn't catch that. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back soon. Make sure you're following Boomin with Bella on all social media, as well as subscribing to the YouTube channel. Oh, and to close out, my thoughts are, yes, I do think he was political, but in a covert sort of way. Like, if you didn't know, you weren't gonna know, but that's why I'm here, so you know. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you liked Bad Bunny's performance, and if you're listening and you're not sure what to tune into, or you're looking for Bad Bunny Rex, I have plenty of episodes, but also DM @Boomin with Bella and I'll give you personalized Rex as well. Okay? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll be back soon. Bye.